In this video, I'll be showing exactly how you can identify your support and your resistance zone. So first, let's begin with what support and resistance is all about. Support and resistance zone are those points where prices makes reversal, and these reversal are usually points of reaction. So why are they point of reaction? Because at each of this level, there is a reaction of the market participant, a reaction to sell or a reaction to buy. So price can be buying, just like in this scenario. You see price buying all the way to this point. So there is a seller's reaction that prompts price to sell, and then buyer's reaction again causing the price to begin to buy to the upside. So each of these zones is what we tend to refer to as support and resistance. So simply put, support are those zones where buyers step in to prevent the price from going lower, while resistance zone are those zones where sellers step in to prevent the price from rising higher. So it's just like in a normal life scenario. The support zone serves as a floor, while the resistance zone serves like the ceiling of a room. That is a typical scenario of what this is all about. So what price does is that price will always move from a support zone to a resistance zone, and then back to a support zone, and then again it will move to the resistance zone. And that is why this particular pattern of trading is very, very important and effective. And another thing we must know is, for instance, if price move this way, when price left this zone, we mark this zone as our support zone. And then when price reach this point and then begins to return, we mark this zone as our resistance zone. So which means that automatically price has given us, here is our support, here is our resistance. So again, when price come back to this support zone, we are expecting that buyers should react in this zone by taking price from this zone back to the next resistance zone. So there are scenarios when price get to this resistance zone, we are expecting sellers to react by taking price down. But that is not always the case. There are instances where price break out of this zone. So price will break out of this resistance zone. And when price break out of this resistance zone, we will need a validation on this particular zone. And whenever a resistance zone is being broken by a price, that zone automatically becomes a support zone. So once price breaks this zone, we want to see the validation of this zone as a support. So this validation is whereby price return back to this zone, retest it, and then continue again to the upside. So what this particular pattern means is that here is our support, and then this resistance was broken at this point. So price retests this zone. So whenever a resistance zone is being broken and price retest it and continue to the upside, the resistance zone now automatically change to a support zone. So that is just the ideology behind it. When a resistance zone is being broken and price retest it and continue to the upside to create a new resistance, here now becomes our new resistance. So it means that automatically the previous resistance becomes a support because price has break through it. And if in this scenario price left this resistance zone, came down, this is resistance, price came down and gave us a support zone, and then probably price went back again, respect this resistance zone, came to this support for the second time and break through it, and then automatically we know that this is a break of the support zone. So now what do we want to see? When price break a support zone and then retest that zone to create a new support zone, unlike this, the previous support zone automatically will become a resistance. How and why do I say it becomes a resistance? So you will now observe that price tried to break it to the upside, but sellers came in at that zone and pushed price back to the downside. And we say that resistance zone are those zones whereby sellers react, come into the market and prevent the market from going higher. So price returned here so that it can go higher, but sellers came in and then return back price to the downside, and that prevent the price from going higher. So this is the mystery behind it. Whenever a resistance is being broken, retest upon a retest is being confirmed as a support zone, and whenever a support zone is being broken by price upon a retest, it automatically becomes. So having said all of that, let's look at exactly how we can identify these zones on our chart. So in this lesson we're only looking at how to identify or how to mark our support and resistance zone. So let's look at how do we mark this. Remember, support and resistance are zones. It is not a line. So I won't just pick up a horizontal line and place at this point. It is a zone and not a line. So I won't be marking it this way. However, we must identify our point of failure and our point of reaction. The question is, what is our point of failure and what is our point of reaction? Our point of failure are the wicks in those zones where price turn from. Unlike in this scenario, if you look at this critically, you realize that this candle has a wick. So this wick shows us the failure on the part of sellers. So we are going to mark this wick, and then we have this body part of it, which is our point of reaction, which shows the actions on the part of the buyers. So by the time we will mark these two zones like this, so and this is what gives us our zone. The point of failure and point of reaction is what gives us our zone. So you can as well use your rectangle to mark this out. So this is now our point of support. So this is our first support zone, and then afterward price moved to this point, came down, moved to this point, and then price reverses. So your point of support and resistance must be an obvious level. Remember, you are not the only one trading the market, so whatever you are marking should be obvious for every other market participant to see. So if you are struggling with any level at all, you should know that that level is not a support zone. Neither is that level a resistance zone. Okay, so here is another zone. So this is it. So we have our zone marked out in this scenario. So this is how exactly you can mark your support and your resistance zone. So what do we want to see now? We are marking it out and we have identified this level. However, if you are using your horizontal line to do the marking, it should be something like this. Let me make it bolder. Good. So you should be marking out something like this. So this is the zone. So all of that zone is your support and resistance zone. Okay. And then here we have another one. And then here, this is obvious. So we are going to mark this. This is point of failure and then point of reaction. This is point of failure, this is point of reaction. So this is exactly how you can mark your zone of support and your zone of resistance. Okay, so look, let me explain this little scenario. In this case, look at this. This was a resistance. Price was coming to this zone. This is a resistance zone. When price got here, there is a resistance. You can see that this point price was rejected to the downside. Afterward, price pulled back a little and then price break out of it. Then when price break out of it, price went to the upside, came down, continued to the upside, and then look at here. Price came to retest this particular resistance that was broken. So when price left here to this upside, this retest of price to this zone automatically now validate this zone as a support. Previously at this point, this zone was a resistance. So immediately price break out of it from this point and retested it here, it automatically becomes a support zone. So you can see that how this zone that was previously a resistance here becomes a support. And that is why I said whenever price break out of a support zone and retest it for the second time, it becomes is. When price break a resistance zone and retest it, it becomes a support zone. Alright, and then you can see how price creates a new resistance here and then retested it. You can see how price behave around the zone. So your assignment is for you to go back to your chart, mark out those areas where price make a turns from on your higher time frame. It is very much effective on 4-hour time frame and above. So identify your area of support, your area of resistance, and then the subsequent video will take it further on how exactly we can take advantage of this, how we can make entry, and also identify a valid support and resistance zone.